I remember the exact moment the world shifted. Not in slow motion like they say, no. It cracked fast. Clean. Like a plate dropped on tile. The envelope was thick. Cream-colored. Fancy enough to be a wedding invite. I thought it was another reminder for some cousin's third wedding. Until I saw the names. You were cordially invited to the union of Claire Thompson and Ryan Miller. Claire. My Claire. And Ryan? My brother. I didn't drop the invitation. I didn't scream. I just stood there in the hallway of my apartment, blinking like I misread it. But the gold embossing stayed the same. The date was set. 3 weeks from today. You don't forget the woman you were supposed to marry. And you sure as hell don't forget the man who walked you through childhood, helped you bury your dog in the backyard when you were 10, and then, apparently, buried a knife right in your back. Claire and I were engaged for 14 months. We had booked a venue. She picked the colors. I built a playlist. We even named our future kids one drunk night in Miami. Noah if it's a boy, Elle if it's a girl. And then poof. 3 months ago, she said she needed space to find herself. Turns out, she found herself in my brother's bed. I didn't RSVP. I didn't have to. I was already going. But I wasn't going alone. Fast forward to the wedding day. I showed up in a black suit, sunglasses hiding the rage underneath. My arm? Draped with someone who could shut down a room. Her name was Naomi. Not a model, but looked like one. A friend of a friend I had met at a gallery a week ago. When I told her the story, she said, "Let's burn it down." I liked her immediately. As we walked into the reception hall, ivory roses, golden archways, everything reeking of Claire's need for attention, I felt everyone turn. The betrayal was fresh in their eyes, not just mine. Some whispered. Some looked away. But most watched. Claire stood under the floral canopy, white dress shimmering like nothing ever happened. Ryan stood next to her, grinning like a fool. That same stupid grin he had when he used to steal my Halloween candy. Only now, it was my life he stole. Then it happened. The moment that flipped the script. Ryan took the mic during the vows and said, "Claire's always had high standards. But she told me once, I was the one she should have chosen first." Laughter. From the guests. Even Claire chuckled. They were mocking me. At my ex-fiancée's wedding. With my brother. But before I could even breathe, Naomi let go of my arm. Walked forward. Heels echoing on marble. She didn't ask permission. She reached the center of the room, locked eyes with Claire, and said, "Actually, I'm her upgrade." Gasps. You could hear the air suck out of the room. Every neck turned. Every camera dropped. Because Naomi wasn't just beautiful. She was her. The woman Claire had left me for 3 years ago. During a break. The same one she said was just confusion. I never found out her name then. But now I knew. Claire's jaw dropped. Ryan froze. Naomi smirked and leaned into the mic someone forgot to mute. Guess the groom's not the only one who got leftovers. I didn't have to say a word. Naomi just winked at me and walked back, looping her arm through mine again like this was all rehearsed. The silence was deafening. And that was only the beginning. Ryan tried to laugh it off, but it came out forced, cracked, and thin. Claire's face was pale, her lips twitching like she couldn't decide if she should scream, cry, or bolt out the back. I just stood there, letting the wreckage unfold like some twisted opera. Naomi leaned toward me and whispered, "Let her sweat." God, I like this woman. Claire stammered something about not the time, and this isn't true, but no one was buying it. Not after that mic drop. The crowd turned awkward. A few guests got up. Some pulled out their phones. Ryan? He was just standing there, blinking, processing. Because here's the thing. Claire hadn't told him. She thought that little part of her past, what she called a moment of weakness, was buried. She never thought Naomi would walk in. And definitely not on his arm. But that's the thing about betrayal. It always leaves footprints. And I had followed them all the way here. After the shock settled into the room like fog, the ceremony tried to continue. Claire's voice trembled as she tried to say her vows. She kept looking at me. At Naomi. At Ryan, who was now visibly sweating through his collar. Then I got up. Walked toward the front like I belonged there. People gasped again, thinking I was going to throw hands or make a scene. But I just walked straight up to Ryan and handed him a small envelope. He opened it. Pulled out a photo. A photo of Claire and Naomi. Naked. Kissing. In my old apartment. Found this in the sock drawer 3 years ago, I said, voice calm. Claire told me it was nothing. A phase. Said she didn't even know her name. I turned to Naomi. She lied. Claire lunged forward, snatched the photo, and started tearing it into pieces, her hands shaking. This is disgusting. You're disgusting. This isn't what today is about. But nobody was listening to her anymore. I looked at my brother. You know what hurts, Ryan? Not that you stole my fiancée, but that you thought I wouldn't find out. That you thought you were better than me. He tried to say something, but nothing came out. So I left. With Naomi. Together, we walked out of the gold-plated disaster and into the sun. Naomi lit a cigarette and offered me one. I don't smoke. But that day, I did. We didn't speak for a while. Just let the silence sit between us. And then she said, "You handled that better than I thought." I laughed. Not done yet. Because what Claire and Ryan didn't know was that I wasn't just there for the drama. I had something else. Something worse. And I was going to deliver it by morning. That night, I didn't sleep. Naomi crashed on my couch, her heels tossed somewhere near the door, her jacket draped over a chair like she'd lived there 100 times before. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, a whiskey glass sweating beside me, and the final piece of my plan lighting up the screen. Emails. Screenshots. Transfers. You see, when Claire left me, she didn't just break my heart. She left traces. Dumb ones. She forgot I set up her email when we moved in. Forgot I had access to the shared drive she used for work. Forgot I built the damn spreadsheet she logged her freelance hours into. Except those hours didn't match up. What I found, over weeks of painful digging, were transactions, wire transfers between her and Ryan. Strange amounts. Repeated every few weeks. Labeled as consulting. I dug deeper and found they were pulling money from my late mother's trust, something Ryan was managing after Mom passed last year. That was the real betrayal. Not the affair. Not the wedding. They were stealing from her grave. I sent the file to a lawyer friend in the morning. The kind of friend who doesn't blink when you say, "I want them bled out, legally." He promised movement by Monday. By the time Naomi woke up, made coffee, and slid into the chair across from me, the gears were already in motion. "You look like hell," she said, sipping casually. "Feel like it," I said. "Ready to be a villain yet?" I smiled. "I think I already am." The next 48 hours moved fast. Ryan called. I let it ring. Then he texted. "We need to talk. Please." I didn't answer. Claire sent a paragraph-long essay about how Naomi violated her privacy, how I ambushed her special day, how she was hurt. I replied with one word. Soon. What they didn't know was that I had booked an appointment at the bank the same day Claire walked out on me months ago. I'd removed her as a beneficiary. Changed the locks. Froze joint assets. I just never told her. She assumed I was still dumb and hurt. She forgot I was patient. On Wednesday morning, I got the call from the lawyer. "You were right," he said. "They've been funneling 10 grand a month out of the trust since January. And that account was for your mother's medical charity, not their lifestyle." I asked, "Can we hit them now?" He said, "Hard." Later that afternoon, I was at work when I got a text from Naomi. Turn on the news. Local headlines. Online. Live. Wealthy couple under investigation for embezzlement of family trust funds. Sources say betrayal may be involved. The photo beneath it? Claire in her wedding dress. Ryan beside her, hand half raised like he was trying to block the camera. I leaned back, exhaled, and smiled. It wasn't over. But now we were even. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop, calls from unknown numbers, old friends suddenly checking in, distant relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years now wanting to grab coffee. But I ignored it all. The only call I answered was from Naomi. She didn't say hello. Just, "They're scrambling." I could hear the sirens in the background. She was parked down the street from Claire and Ryan's house, watching, narrating, sipping an ice drink like it was popcorn-worthy. Claire's crying. Ryan looks like he's about to throw up. Their attorney just showed up in sweats. "Real classy. You enjoying this too much," I muttered. She laughed. "Not enough." The next morning, Claire finally showed up at my door. No warning. No text. Just 3 hard knocks like she still owned a key. I opened the door, half expecting screaming, excuses, maybe even tears. But what I got was worse. She stood there in designer sunglasses, hair perfect, mouth tight. "You set us up," she said, low and sharp. "No," I replied. "You set yourself up. I just gave the world a front row seat." She pushed past me into the apartment like this was still her place. "You had no right. That money wasn't even yours. It was Mom's. It was for the hospice wing she wanted built in her name. You used it to lease a BMW and book a honeymoon in Tulum." She rolled her eyes. "You're still so dramatic. Ryan and I had plans, real ones. That money would have tripled in a year with our investments. You used it for hotel suites and spa packages. We deserved it. That snapped something inside me. The way she said it. Like she still thought they were the victims. Like I had wronged them. I walked over to my desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out the last file I hadn't shown anyone yet. I tossed it onto the coffee table. What's that? She asked, eyeing the folder like it might bite her. The prenup you signed 2 years ago, I said, right before we got engaged. You remember that, Claire? The one where you promised not to touch any family assets if you ever lied, cheated, or committed fraud. Her face twitched. And see, here's the beautiful part. Ryan co-signed it as a witness, which means he gets dragged into the same legal liability. She looked like she might slap me. Instead, she sat down. For the first time, quiet. I loved you, she said suddenly. You used me, I replied. Maybe at the end. But in the beginning? I did. She took off her sunglasses then, and yeah, her eyes were red. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. Whatever love had once lived between us was a carcass now, rotting and hollowed out by greed. Why him? I asked, needing to hear it out loud. She swallowed. Because he made me feel powerful. Like I was the one in control. And I didn't? You made me feel safe. And bored. There it was. The truth in its ugliest form. She stood, adjusted her bag. You win, okay? Are you happy? I didn't answer. Because it wasn't about winning. It was about finally knowing what I'd been sleeping beside all those years. She walked out without saying goodbye. No apology. No promise to fix things. Just like that, she was gone. Naomi showed up an hour later, 2 coffees in hand. She saw my face and didn't ask questions. Just sat beside me and handed over the cup. She came. She finally asked. Yeah, and? She said I was boring. Naomi snorted. Then she's the dumbest smart thief I've ever met. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was real. All of it. The pain, the shock, the rage, it had finally moved through me. And now, all that was left was clarity. Over the next week, things unraveled for Claire and Ryan faster than I ever could have planned. Their joint accounts were frozen. The trust fund audit went public. Ryan got suspended from his job pending investigation, and Claire's influencer deals, yeah, the ones she used to flaunt as proof of her independence, all vanished overnight. One by one, brands quietly backed away. No one wants to collaborate with the face of a scandal. And through it all, they tried to spin the narrative. Ryan posted some long-winded apology on Facebook, blaming mismanagement and miscommunication, begging people not to jump to conclusions. Claire reposted it with a black heart emoji. But screenshots don't lie. And the people who once laughed at their wedding suddenly weren't laughing anymore. I stayed quiet. Let the silence speak for me. Until one night, I got a call from Dad. We hadn't spoken much since the engagement ended. He was always neutral, the classic both sides guy. But tonight, his voice was different. Heavy. Son, he said, I didn't know. About the money. About Claire. Any of it. I could tell he meant it. And I could also tell he was ashamed that his oldest son had betrayed his youngest, that his daughter-in-law had gutted our family in public. He paused, then added, if your mother were alive, she'd be proud of how you handled it. That one hit deep. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there for a while in the dark. Naomi was asleep in the other room. She'd been staying over more. Not officially. No declarations. Just there. She never asked what we were or where it was going. She didn't need to. She just stayed. And maybe that's what I needed most. The next morning, a video started circulating online. Naomi had posted it without telling me. A simple montage, clips from the wedding, snippets of their vow exchange, the mic drop moment, and then Claire's breakdown. All set to a haunting piano track. Title, What Betrayal Looks Like. It hit 300K views in 2 hours. Claire tried to report it. Failed. Ryan commented, this is cruel. Naomi replied, so was stealing from a dead woman. People ate it up. Twitter lit up. TikTok duets. Memes. Hashtags. But for the first time, I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt free. A few nights later, Naomi and I sat on the balcony, watching the city buzz below us. She lit a cigarette, leaned back, and asked, so what's next? I looked out at the skyline. Closure, I said. You think you've got it? Not yet. But I'm close. She nodded. Well, when you get there, don't let them back in. Not even in your head. I won't. She took a drag, exhaled slowly. I like this version of you, she said. The one that doesn't flinch anymore. I didn't respond. Just reached out, took her hand. She didn't pull away. Maybe that was enough for now. A week passed, then another. The headlines faded. The noise dulled. The world, as it always does, moved on. But Claire didn't. She started showing up in my messages again, first anonymously through burner accounts, then directly from her own. Some of them were angry. Some sounded almost desperate. "You're ruining everything we built. Please talk to me. I didn't think you'd go this far. I miss the old you." I never replied. But one morning, I made a mistake. I clicked on a voice message. Her voice flooded my phone. Soft, rehearsed. "Jake, I know you think I'm some monster. Maybe I am. But you weren't perfect either. You always needed things to be stable, calm, neat. And I needed more. I needed to feel alive." I deleted it before it finished. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted control again. To find some lever, some weak part of me she could press into until I cracked. But I was done breaking for her. Meanwhile, Ryan had gone full ghost. Deleted socials. Moved out of the apartment they were sharing. Word had it he was staying with a college friend in Idaho, regrouping. I wasn't surprised. Ryan was never the type to face a storm. He hid and waited for it to pass. Claire, on the other hand, kept clawing for attention. She started posting again, cryptic captions, moody filters, shots of her healing in luxury spas. I saw one where she quoted some garbage about rising from ashes. The comments? Brutal. And Naomi? She was still around. Not in a clingy way. We weren't together in the traditional sense. No labels. Just long talks, shared meals, quiet mornings. I liked how easy it was. She didn't need me to be anything except honest. One night, we sat watching some bad horror movie. Halfway through, she turned and said, "So, are you gonna close the loop?" I knew what she meant. Claire had destroyed more than a relationship. She'd poisoned family. She'd desecrated the memory of my mother for personal gain. And while part of me wanted to walk away and never look back, another part whispered, "Burn the rest down." So I wrote her one final message. "You want closure? Here it is. I loved you. I trusted you. I would have built my life around you. But you threw it all away for a cheap thrill and a chance to feel superior. I don't hate you. I just see you clearly now. You're small. And I'm done giving you power." I had sinned. Then blocked her. Everywhere. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks. But something shifted inside me, something permanent. Naomi read the message over my shoulder. When I turned to look at her, she just smiled and said, "Now you're free." And she was right. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't clinging to what was, or bleeding from what could have been. I was done. With her. With Ryan. With all of it. Just me, a calm mind, and a woman who didn't need to fix me, only stand beside me while I fixed myself. 3 months later, I stood at the edge of a rocky cliff in Oregon, ocean roaring below me, salt in the air. Naomi was a few steps behind, camera in hand, capturing the sunset like it was a religion. I wasn't sure when we decided to take this trip, only that we both needed to get out, breathe new air, feel something that wasn't polluted by memory. I hadn't thought about Claire in weeks. That realization hit me harder than I expected. Not because I missed her, because I didn't, but because, for the first time in years, she wasn't occupying space in my mind. No more late-night analysis. No more digging for reasons. No more hoping she'd feel sorry. She was gone. And I was still here. Naomi walked up beside me, nudging my arm. "Thinking about jumping?" She teased. I smirked. "Nah, just watching it all go quiet." She looked out at the horizon. "You're not the same guy I met at that wedding." "Good," I said. That guy was dying. We stood in silence for a moment, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. "I ever tell you what my therapist said?" I asked suddenly. "No, but I'm sure she was expensive." She said heartbreak is a form of grief. And like grief, it doesn't ask your permission. It just shows up and wrecks the place. Naomi nodded. "And what did you say?" I said, "Good. Let it wreck everything that wasn't real." She smiled, and I felt that warmth again. The kind that wasn't built on performance or power plays or desperate games. Just presence. Just peace. That night, over cheap wine and motel blankets, I wrote something in my notes app. Not for Claire. Not even for Ryan. Just for me. You'll survive things you think will end you. People will lie to your face and say they love you. Some of them will look like family. Some will wear white dresses and speak in vows they never met. Let them go. Let them fall. You're not here to carry broken people who cut you while calling it love. You're here to heal. To rise. To live cleaner, freer, louder. And maybe, if you're lucky, to meet someone who doesn't need to break you just to feel whole. I never posted it. But I read it to Naomi. She kissed me. Not like a movie kiss. Not dramatic. Just honest. Solid. Like we both knew exactly where we'd been and exactly where we were never going back to. So yeah, my brother stole my fiancée and sent me a wedding invite. But I walked out of that nightmare with a fire they couldn't kill and a woman who never once tried to put it out. I'm not healed, but I'm whole enough. And that's more than I ever thought I'd be again. The end.